Thank you for joining us today for the virtual Sunday service with the Center for Creative Living. CCL, a charter of the Universal Church of the Master, has served and supported the spiritual needs of its community here in the Bay Area for over 20 years.
Good morning and welcome to the Center for Creative Living. And I'm the Reverend Doti Boon, and I'm so excited about having you here today. And for those of you who noticed the menorah on the back, on the piano back there, it's to honor those of you who are observing Hanukkah. Thank you so much for joining us. We're certainly excited about having you here during the holiday seasons. And I say holiday seasons because we're going to be observing a lot of different holidays over the next 3 weeks. And so please join us as we do. That's one of the wonderful things about the Center for Creative Living. We honor you, whatever religion you were raised with, whatever faith that you follow. We want to be here for you. Okay. Now, one of the things that's going on is the Universal Church of the Master, our parent church, is going to be having a Christmas program this coming Tuesday. And that's Tuesday evening at 7 o'clock, and it's going to be Zoom. And I'm sure either Dr. Ayleen Augustine is going to be talking about it, or maybe even Reverend Dr. Janet Childs. Somebody's going to be mentioning more of it. If you don't hear enough to be able to call in or talk to somebody because you don't know what to do, well, call Corky. Reverend Corky Whitaker is the background right now, the backbones, as it were, of what's going on. So call her at 408-220-4779. She's correcting me again. 408 220-5779. It's so interesting to have a little voice at the side of you that says, it's a 5. Okay, so thank you so much, Corry. And she not only is taping this for me, she's also being my conscience back there. Every once in a while you need one. This talk today is from our Reverend Dr. Ayleen, and I am so interested in what she's going to say because she's talking about search of her happiness. And this has been a very difficult year for her, and yet still she's going to be real with what happened, but honoring the fact that she's gone through it and is doing very well. Right now, she's very scared of this rain because they put out a notice saying that there could be a flood where she lives. So to have her talking to us shows her interest and her encouragement for all of us to be able to look at what's real and how to deal with it. So we're so glad to have her today. Our prayer and our message is going to be done by somebody that's also going through a difficult time, and that is our Reverend Ann Corbin. She is the Associate Pastor of the Center for Creative Living. And many, many things have happened to her also. It's that kind of year for folks. But when you listen to what other people are going through, sometimes it helps us realize that we are sharing this time. Not that we are doing any comparative shopping with our problems versus their problems. It's just honoring that we're sharing and we're compassionate with what's going on with other people. So please, as you listen today to people speaking about what's happening, realize that your love and compassion helps everybody that's going through a difficult time, okay? Next week, our wonderful Patty Baker. Patty Baker is this delightful lady that quite often sat in the back during our CCL church services. She's very quiet, and yet she's got a talk that I'm really interested in because it's called Tale of Two Minds, not giving in to discouragement. Isn't that a wonderful 1-2? Reverend Dr. Ayleen and then Patty Baker, they're both coming at you to tell you how you can look at life in a little bit different and a little bit better way, okay? Now, I'm going to be all over the place. So if you see Reverend Doti Boon is going to be doing this or that, I'm going to be doing a co-hosting a bit for the Billy DeFrank LGBT. I'm looking at LGBTQ plus to make sure I get it correct. I'm going to be working with them on Christmas Day at 11 o'clock in the morning on a Zoom. And then also I'm going to be doing predictions for the year 2021 on New Year's Eve for the DeFrank Center. So we have a lot of things coming up. And there again, anytime you're confused or you need more information, give Corky a call. Corky, give us the telephone number. 408-205-779. Yay! And you can call at any time and make your donations here. I feel like we're putting on one of those late night TV shows. And so last week, I talked about the Battle of Los Angeles. And the reason I'm stressing that, because a lot of people said, well, I didn't do anything about it. I heard about it. I just want you to read it. Go online somewhere. I don't care where you find it on the computer. It's the Battle of Los Angeles, or it could be the War of Los Angeles. Because in 1942, for those of you who've been living in California for a long time or possibly even born here, don't realize that there was a weird skirmish going on during that time. And it's exciting reading because it has about 4 different newspaper people that have looked at it, talked about it, were there like I was, and absolutely were part of all the hysteria, the stuff that was going on. It's nice to look back and see when we were at confusion times, just like we are now, and know that we came through it beautifully. Gives you hope. And that's what we want to do, is give you hope, because you're really important. And I want to right now do a sound out to our beautiful Marge Magic Powers, who is one of the people who always writes the morsels for our CCL Insights. She just experienced yesterday having a pacemaker put in. And, you know, after that, you feel like you've been run over by a truck. So every one of you, when you get a chance, put out a hello, put a shout out to Magic, a prayer to Magic, just to let her know how important she is and how much we're rooting for her. And now let's put out a shout to you. The shout out to the congregation. You are the most important people in the world. Yes, you are. And now it's time for a prayer.
Hi, everyone. Reverend Ann Corbin, Associate Pastor at the Center for Creative Living, here to bring you my message and the opening prayer for today. I'd like to start with wishing you all a happy Hanukkah that began December 10th this year. Hanukkah is the Jewish festival of lights celebrating the victory of the Maccabees over the much larger Syrian army as the Jews fought for their religious freedom. The word Hanukkah in Hebrew means rededication. The holiday really is about the miracle that occurred when the Jewish people were locked in their temple and only had 1 night's worth of oil left. Yet the oil burned miraculously for 8 nights, and they were able to win their battle and rededicate their temple for the freedom of worship. So the celebration is each night for 8 nights, candles are lit using a special candle holder called the menorah, and an even more special menorah called the Hanukkah, which holds 9 candles, 8 to represent the 8 nights, and the shamus, which means attendant candle, which is used to light all the rest. You can tell which one is the shamus candle on a menorah because it normally sits higher or lower than all the rest of the candles. A prayer is sung with the candle lighting, and during the modern days, gifts are also exchanged. Foods that are eaten are deep fried foods, anything that's oily, but the biggest one is a donut, that jelly-filled donut that is, fried in oil, but sweet on the inside. There is also a game that is played by the spinning of the dreidel, and the dreidel is a four-sided top, which was used back in the olden days as a ruse for the Syrian army, because it looked like they were just gambling, but actually the Jewish people were talking about lessons about the Talmud and the Torah at the time. Today, in modern days, it's a game where it's played for Hanukkah Gelt, which is chocolate, not guilt, but Gelt. and also, nuts or anything of that sort. Each side of the four-sided top has a Hebrew letter on it, and each of those stands for a great miracle happened here. This year has been so intense and so much has happened, we all could use some miracles, right? We all know the times are changing, and it's a powerful time as we near the end of this really challenging year. A friend sent me an article today about Monday's upcoming new moon full solar eclipse, and I'd like to read you a little bit about that as well. So, new moons signal new beginnings, but December 14th's new moon, which occurs in the sign of Sagittarius, is especially powerful. It will be met with a total solar eclipse at approximately 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time or 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and is ushering in big changes for our future. A total solar eclipse is what happens when the new moon passes directly between the sun and the earth, blocking out the sun's light completely. The energies of this eclipse will be expansive and stimulating, and we will be pulled to try something different and adventurous, says Leslie Hale, psychic astrologer at Keen.com. In astrology, a solar eclipse may be something of a turning point. Decisions made at this point can have long-lasting implications in the future. According to Narayana Montufar, senior astrologer at astrology.com, she says, it means something is coming to an end in order to make room for something new to emerge. So without sugarcoating it, this aspect speaks to the possibility of a goodbye or even a loss for many of us. Of course, collectively, we're saying goodbye to 2020, a year during which so many of us have experienced some kind of loss, a job, a loved one, a sense of security. So this period may bring up some emotions around these specific losses. So it's important to take this week to practice extra self-care and make sure you're allowing yourself the space to process the past several months as you let it go. And then as you think about heading into 2021, take this new moon and solar eclipse as a time to manifest what themes you want to bring into the new year. But prepare yourself because this lunar energy is strong and it may bring up some passionate emotions. So my note on this is this. The self-care and letting go is to make space for what is coming forward, which can be amazing. Yet to me right now, the important part is to be here now and to do our best not to project too much into the future, nor spend too much time dwelling on the past, but live in the moment. As our emotions come up, it's important to sit with them so that we can transmute them and know the Creator is with you, and we do not have to solve everything this minute. It's okay to just be and to feel. For me, this is the first time in 13 years I have not traveled to see my family for the holidays. My mom will not likely make it past Christmas this year if she makes it through this week. She called to say goodbye a few days ago, saying she is ready to go. And I want to live in the present moment with this and feel this energy. I want to send her my love via my prayers and not sit and worry about when the day will come. I would appreciate your prayers for her, though, to help her have a peaceful, pain-free transition. I have no regrets about not being there with her. We had a wonderful time together last year at this time and would not be able to have that today because of her condition and because of certain things that happened in Oregon last year or this year. I still want to be there for my brother and sister, and I am in my heart, just not in person. I know they love me as much as I love them, and we are here for each other, just a phone call away. We can be in the present with our love. I am also loving each and every one of you here and now. So close your eyes and breathe in. Breathing in love, light, peace, and all good things for you. Hold it for a few seconds and breathe out. Breathing out worry, fear, and anything not serving you at this time. And place those cares in the virtual basket that's sitting by you, allowing our wonderful Creator to take care of it for you. Dearest Mother, Father, God, universal love and light, our dear Creator, we ask you to hold us during these powerful times and guide us so that we may tap into our highest selves and live in the now. No regrets from the past and no worries of the future, for we know that your love gives us the resilience and strength we require to keep us connected and strong through all that comes our way. Thank you for blessing us with our beautiful Mother Earth, and may we bless her as she goes through her changes along with us. We are grateful for our connection to all, as we remember that we are one with all living beings in nature. Thank you for protecting our homes and hearts, especially through this season. Thank you for opening us to our all-powerful I Am presence, and for guiding us as we ascend to a higher dimension of pure love. Thank you for having our backs always, in all ways. Bless our first responders, our firefighters, paramedics, nurses, and doctors as they continue to work to keep us safe and sound. Bless our essential workers, grocery workers, delivery drivers, restaurant workers, and all not mentioned here. Thank you for keeping hope alive. Bless today's wonderful speaker, Reverend Dr. Ayleen. We know that she has you guiding her to bring us the perfect message that will touch us all deeply. Thank you for the Center for Creative Living and the Universal Church of the Master that teaches us that our path to you, Creator, is our own path, that love and God are expressed differently by each individual, and it is all good. Thank you for another day for us to be together virtually through your love and through your gift of technology. We love you so much, Creator, and we say thank you, thank you, thank you. Blessed be, amen, and so it is.
As decorations appear in homes and all along, tinsel lights and stockings fill hearts with love and song. Oh, go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain that Christmas time is here. While Santa Claus is watching over reindeer in the night, behold, throughout the heavens will shine a bright red light. Ho, 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 go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. No hearing sleigh bells jingling means Santa Claus is near. Season is upon us, full of winter snow. Cookies by the fireplace, below is some mistletoe. Oh, 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 go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Hope, peace and joy make certain that Christmas time is here.
Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Reverend Dr. Ayleen Augustine, and it is my pleasure to be the President of the Universal Church of the Master, as well as being the speaker this morning. And for those of you in the community who, are aware of it, yes, we did have rain, and that is not a good sign, and we're expected to have more. So for those who are concerned, first off, thank you so much. I really appreciate your prayers and your support during this time, and all of you who, offered to help me with things, thank you so very much. My car is packed, and I am ready to leave at a moment's notice. All I have to do is grab my desktop computer and put it in my car. Everything else is in there. So I grab the computer, grab the cat, and I do have a very safe place that I'll be going if that becomes necessary. So again, thank you for all of your good wishes. And we'll just have to see what happens, and we'll have to see how things go. And I've kind of been on a particular journey around all of what I've dealt with in 2020. And I understand that a lot of people have dealt with a lot of different things. And if, this has really weighed a lot on you, I'm sorry. And I hope that, this process has been gentle as it could be. And please understand that it is not so much about the moment we're in, but what we have the ability to learn from it. And there's been a lot to learn from 2020. And I think that it has also pushed us to a place where we have to acknowledge that, well, as my saying goes, life is fun until it isn't, and it sucks until it doesn't. And that's kind of what I wanted to address. I came across a 2017 experiment that was published in the Journal of Experimental Psychology. And it was fascinating because it talked about asking people to, one group was asked to just do their best to remain positive, no matter what the stimulus, no matter what was going on, but just to stay as positive as they could. And another group was told to, if they felt angry, to express anger. If they felt fear, to express fear. And just to, really kind of go there. And so their stress levels were measured. And at the end of the experiment, the stress levels were measured again. And the people who expressed their feelings, that if they felt anger, they expressed it. If they felt fear, they expressed it. Their stress levels were lower than the ones who were told to remain positive. And it's a fairly extensive study, but, it just kind of opened the door. And I really look forward to hearing more about these studies. What it opened the door for was the idea that if we are not in alignment with what it is we are authentically feeling, then what happens is we create stress in the system. I believe that our systems are designed for authenticity. And when we step out of that, for the most part, it creates a disruption. It creates, that feeling in the pit of our stomach. When that kind of a tell when somebody has done something that they know they shouldn't have done, or responded in a way they know they shouldn't have. And if they're carrying that inside of them, you can tell when somebody is stressing about that. I remember when dealing with my kids. And children are amazing because there is a certain, yes, children can spin a yarn just as well as everyone else. And they're not really as good at it as they think they are. And how you can look at a child and know, it's like, what have you done? Especially mothers. When you look at your child, and just by the way they look at you, you know that something has gone on. You know that you may not know what it is, but you know that they know they shouldn't have done it. And I believe that authenticity instinct is in each and every one of us. And it can be especially powerful when we're not being authentic with ourselves. Ultimately, we cannot lie to ourselves. Our bodies will not allow it. We will experience physical symptoms, physical stresses. And I personally believe that there's a very strong energetic connection between the body, the mind, and the spirit. And in some cases, I have found as a chiropractor that if someone's neck adjustments are not holding, we have a conversation about that maybe they're not expressing their truth, that maybe they're not telling their truth to someone. And while they may have a very good reason for not doing it, it's still not in alignment with the authenticity of what they're feeling. And oddly enough, after we have a discussion and the person speaks their truth, suddenly their neck adjustments will be much more successful and will hold. So I believe that the body responds to the things that we're going through emotionally. And, I was told once by a medicine man that the body will cry the tears that the eyes don't. So when we are not in our truth regarding our, maybe the pain we're feeling, maybe the sadness we're feeling, maybe the anger we're feeling, then something isn't going to be right in the system. Something will reveal itself in one way or another, whether in the person's temperament, in their digestion, in, their just in general how they feel. So this also relates to the term radical acceptance, which has to do with the idea that, yes, this moment sucks. Yes, this is unfair. Yes, this shouldn't be happening. Yes, I hate this. To allow all of those to be true and still be able to say, and this is what I've got to work with right now. This is the reality of the situation. Nobody ever said we had to like it. And it's okay to say, this is a lousy situation. Now, that being the first step to being able to solve a problem is to identify that the problem exists. If we don't identify that the problem exists, if we try to tell ourselves that, nope, it's okay, when it's not okay. And sometimes it's really not okay. Now, the reverse can apply. I was speaking to somebody up here who felt very upset and they were very stressed out and they were kind of being a little bit short-tempered. So I asked what was going on. And through our conversation, it ultimately came out that they had actually a really good year. 2020 was actually a good year for them. And when they tried to express that to someone, they were shut down. And in fact, told that they should feel bad for what it was that they were feeling. Because so many other people were suffering that it was terrible for them to even consider sharing a good thing. And so it backed up. They began to feel resentful that they couldn't talk about the good fortune that they had had. And it manifested in other aspects of their behavior. So I acknowledged that person. I invited them to tell me about all the good stuff. And as they did, I could see their bodies relaxing. I could see the stress going out. And when they finished, they were almost in tears. They said, I have been holding on to that so long. It's so nice to be able to tell someone and to have it be okay. So whether it's something good that we want to share, that maybe we don't feel that it's okay because of what other people may think about it or what other people are going through. I mean, frankly, as far as I'm concerned, we should be sharing all the good news we can. So if somebody is doing well, if something has happened really well in their life, I definitely would love to know about it. And this also comes into that place of faith, because this has been a very hard year, and I've had several conversations about how can a creator who loves us, be involved in this? Why are we being punished? What is this all about? And that can be a very tricky question to answer, because it's not just as simple as saying, well, just trust that God loves you. Trust that God knows what they're doing. Okay, maybe that's really hard right in that moment. And to tell someone to trust in something that is not demonstrating itself, because the question that would follow that would be why? Well, just because. Nope, that's not going to work. A part of faith is accepting that it's okay to be mad at Creator. And it's okay to be frustrated. It's okay to question. And I find when people are invited to explore that, to go to that place of frustration, of anger, of fear, because usually anger and frustration and all of those things, if you peel it back, underneath is fear. Underneath is that, the insecurity of, have I been abandoned? Am I alone in this? And when somebody is in fear, I find it best to just simply allow them to express it, to let them talk about their anger until they can kind of peel back those layers and feel safe enough to admit what it is that they're afraid of. And then from there, it's just like, as I said, you can't identify a problem until it's acknowledged that there is a problem. So, how do we be real? How do we balance being in a place of acceptance and saying, well, I don't know how, but I know it'll work. We can just do our best. And I trust that I'm going to be okay. Or if I'm not okay in what I define as okay, that I trust that Creator has a plan and that it will ultimately serve me. That being balanced with, this sucks, this is not fair, I hate this, and I don't deserve this. And being able to help someone realize, well, all of that is absolutely true and absolutely valid, and it is what it is. The situation is as it is, and for whatever reason, that's what's happening. And that can be kind of tough. And I find that if I can be able to express that I am not in my happy place, and I have had that conversation more than once with Creator, and I will sit there and go, this sucks. And I hear that little whisper going, I know. This isn't fair. I know. I don't deserve this. I know. Well, what are you going to do about it? It's being worked on. I hate this. I know. But do you trust me? Do you trust that I will see you through this, that I would never leave you alone? If you're willing to trust me a little bit further, you'll understand. And I usually go, well, yes, I trust you, but it still sucks. And I hear that little whisper kind of smile and go, duly noted. Now let's get to work. Once we can go into that place of knowing that it sucks, and at the same time knowing that we're not alone, like any good parent who has to say no sometimes, and the child doesn't understand, whether it's being given, cold medicine that they don't want to take, or staying in bed when they're not, when they're sick, when they want to go outside and play. Or maybe it's that they really, really, really want something that isn't good for them. They don't understand no in that moment either. And as a parent, we have to just say, look, you're just going to have to trust me on this. I know what's best, and we'll do this together, and you kind of need to trust me. And I'm a firm believer in explaining as much as possible, even to children, because it's good for them to understand. But sometimes it's just, sorry, we can't do this. This isn't a good idea. And yeah, they get mad and they rail and it's not fair. And we understand. And we don't get mad at them. We don't abandon them. And I believe that Creator is exactly the same way. Creator understands that we're going to get upset. And in fact, I believe things will be brought into our lives that we can be upset about. Because what that does is it allows us to learn how to honestly and authentically deal with being upset. It allows us to grow in our ability to understand that sometimes things just aren't going to happen the way we choose them to. And that we learn that it's okay. The world doesn't end if we're mad at Creator. Creator's not going to go anywhere. So that we can be authentic. So that we can learn not only to be authentic with ourselves, but authentic with one another. Because that's a very, very important thing for us to be able to learn, is to be authentic with one another. If there's someone who feels they are not happy with something about me and that they need to tell me about it, that, maybe it's something that I'm not noticing. Maybe it's something, because I'm dealing with something in here and maybe I'm not responding in the way I normally would. Or maybe they're seeing that I'm not handling things as well as I could be. And that came up recently. And someone who cares very, very much about me had to let me know, and in fact, a couple of people had to let me know, we know you're not okay. And I know that they did not want to tell me that. I know that they could have just said nothing. And it's sort of like, if somebody walks out of the restroom with toilet paper on their shoe and, somebody sees it and doesn't tell the person. And it's like, well, why didn't you tell me? Well, I didn't want to embarrass you. I didn't want you to feel bad. It's like, well, how did that work? I just walked in front of a whole group of people with toilet paper on my shoe. So even if it's something that we may not want to hear in that moment, if it's coming from a place of love, if it is coming from a place of concern, then it is something we need to hear. And I consider it probably one of the greatest acts of love and respect for someone is to tell them something that they don't want to hear and that you don't want to tell them. And that you know that they need to hear it. So being able to step up into that authenticity, to be able to say, I understand that hearing this will upset you, but it's how I honestly feel. And I understand that you may be upset with me. Because when I heard, you're not okay, yes, it went into a difficult place for me because first off, I thought I was hiding it very well. And once it was stated to me and I acknowledged it and I began to share, I'm not okay. That's when people started coming up. It's like, well, I noticed that something was off. I noticed that something was wrong. And sometimes it's hard to share that because, we don't want to hurt people. We don't want them to be uncomfortable. We don't want them to feel self-conscious. And we must be in our truth. We must help others to be in their truth. By not acknowledging I wasn't okay, I was not in my truth. And no matter what story I told myself, it wasn't the truth. And I was hiding from it. Yes, even Dr. Ayleen. And to have someone flat out say, you're not okay. And the thing is, I've done that for so many people. And yet, it completely went under my radar. And I am exceedingly grateful to have people who care about me so much to be able to let me know when I am not being my authentic self. And even more than that, when I needed help. And, for those who have dealt with someone who maybe has a life pattern that is self-destructive, and it used to be called tough love, where it's like, no, you're going to hear about this. You're going to hear how your actions have affected us. And it's painful. And nobody likes it on any side. And it is necessary. Because when we are authentic with someone and we show that respect and that love, what it means is I can trust this person because they were willing to do what was necessary to help me even when I didn't know or wasn't willing to acknowledge that I needed help. And sometimes when people are stressed out, when people are in a very difficult situation, that's exactly what they need, is someone to allow them and to give them permission and to support them to be honest with themselves. Because having somebody else point it out allowed me to stop where I was, to take a breath, and to take a look in the mirror. And I was not happy with what I saw. Because what I saw was someone who was not walking their talk. Someone who encouraged everybody else to get real in their feelings, and yet I was not real in mine. And we all do that. We all, justify. And maybe, they say doctors make the worst patients. And it's always good to be able to have people in my life, to have a community that will not only say, okay, we need to talk, and to be able to hold a safe space for me during that talk. And I'm exceedingly grateful for that. I am coming through a very difficult time. And while I'm not totally out of it yet, and honestly, the thought of having to evacuate again has kind of brought up stuff again, and the fact that it's a loss that, I'm kind of feeling again. The last time I had to evacuate, it was so sudden, I didn't really think about it, and in my mind, when I left, it was, okay, well, I'll be back. This will only be a few days. And then it turned into more. And it was hard. So the idea that, it's can be trickier than we think. And we can still have faith, even while we're wondering what the heck is going on? So trust. Trust in what you feel. Be real in what you feel. Acknowledge it, because that is the first step of moving through it. There's a reason that the first stage of grief is denial. And whether it's the loss of someone, whether it's a very, very difficult change in our lives, the first thing we want to do is rewrite history to make it be something that is more palatable to us. And maybe, that's sort of a kind of a system shock type of thing, where it's like, no, fight, flight, or freeze. And so we kind of freeze. And then maybe we fight. There's a reason that the second stage is anger. So, if you're going through something difficult, again, I'm sorry. And it's okay to express that it's not okay, because that's the first step in becoming okay. It is the first step to radical acceptance. You know, the concept of radical acceptance comes from the Buddhist tradition, which is about finding balance and detaching. You can have an experience, but you don't have to attach to it. And it's not so much the experience, but the story we create in our minds and in our hearts about what that experience means. It's about viewing what we go through without judgment. It is an experience, and it only has the meaning that we give it. So if an experience is unpleasant, if we don't like it, if it is not something that we are happy about, it's okay to say so. It is okay to be authentic. It's okay to grieve and be upset, even whether or not anybody else understands why you're grieving. It's okay to grieve. It's okay to be mad at Creator, because Creator understands, and also understands that once we get to the other side of it, we are the ones who will understand. So be real in what you feel. Embrace your truth. Embrace your authenticity. And as you go through that embracing, we can start to figure out, okay, how can we recreate this? How can we reframe this experience? What is the gift in this experience for us? What is it that we're meant to learn from this? And even if we're not meant to learn anything more, then we're strong enough to survive it, that we can overcome it, that it was never bigger than what we are. Then we reach acceptance, and we can move through and let go of the experience and hold on to the gift that it left behind. So thank you so much for being here with me. Thank you for being a part of this community. Thank you for all the good thoughts and all the caring thoughts and all the offers and all the comfort that I have been offered. Thank you for honestly knowing when I wasn't okay. And thank you for giving me the space to work through that, and at the whole time surrounding me with love. I wish you every possible blessing, and I wish you balance, from my heart to yours. Love you, and take care.
I've got to be real with the way that I feel, for joy to dance on the evening stars. I've got to be real with the way that I feel, for growth to be born in the morning hours. When we show up and tell the truth, we are bearing witness to me, to you. When we show up and tell the truth, we are bearing witness to me, to you. Sometimes it's hard to know what is churning, burning inside. Some emotions don't always show. The ebb and swell of the ocean tide. I've got to be real with the way that I feel, for joy to dance on the evening stars. I've got to be real with the way that I feel, for growth to be born in the morning hours. Shadows in the night fade in the coming light, illuminate my sight, the horizon full and bright. When we show up and tell the truth, we are bearing witness to me and you. When we show up and tell the truth, bearing witness to me, to you. I've got to be real with the way I feel.
Deck the halls with boughs of holly, fa la 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 la. 'Tis the season to be jolly, fa la 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 la. Don me now our gay apparel, fa la 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 la. Troll the ancient Yuletide carol, fa la 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 la. See the blazing yield before us, for la 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 la. Strike the harp and join the chorus, for la 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 la. Follow me in merry measure, for la 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 la. While I tell of Yuletide treasure, for la 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 la. Deck the halls with boughs of holly, fa la 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 la. 'Tis the season to be jolly, fa la 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 la. Hope the North Pole gets my letter, fa la 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 la. Sing we joyous all together, fa la 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 la.
Thank you for joining us for this celebration of faith and fellowship. We'll be back next Sunday, and for those of you, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can leave them in the comments section. If you appreciate this video and the work that the Center for Creative Living is doing, please press like on the video. You can share the video, and also please subscribe, because that will help this community and the church grow. Remember, in these difficult and challenging times, the opportunity to give and support an organization that has done so much for the community is tremendously important. Please help the Center for Creative Living continue in the wonderful work that it does.
We will make it through this. We will be stronger for it. Our faith will carry us. Be blessed, be safe, and have a wonderful week.